I was saying Yashua Rico from StreetScores, and we have some positive Saturday morning Terry McLaurin news. Of course, overall some bad news as far as Terry and Jayden playing against the Falcons tomorrow, and I will be there for that game. I'm gonna try to see how many of y'all I can run into and everything like that. Maybe even try to set up somewhere where I can be at. But either way, we got to dive into this final injury report for this upcoming Falcons game as well, because I know that the Commanders are missing a couple of guys that are important, but the Falcons are missing somebody that it's like, I don't know how their defense stops the Commanders even without Terry and Jayden. So we're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, and stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this. So make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Again, I will be at that Falcons game, and also shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, and shouts out to those of y'all who may end up watching this way late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, the late night crew, man. Let's go ahead and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. So we got some good Terry news, kinda. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some bad, but it's also some like, oh, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Now, of course, we've been on a roller coaster ride over the past few days. Every time I give y'all the updates that I'm getting, I don't know what's definitive or anything like that, and I try to preface everything that I give y'all with that none of this is definitive. We're just hearing reports from different people. We haven't heard it from Terry McLaurin himself, and I feel like, honestly, we're just gonna have to wait and see with a lot of these things. But we did get some pretty good news this morning, but we got to start with the fairly ugly news from yesterday. We got some pretty bad news at first, because yesterday, as in Friday, September 26th, it was pretty much all bad news, because Nigga Javala at 12:36 p.m. let everybody know that Terry McLaurin's starting and playing streak ends at 72 games because of a quad injury, and Marcus Mariota will start his second game for Washington in Atlanta, no less, which is actually pretty interesting. It'll be his first game back there since his criminous exit in 2022. But JP Finley even pointed out the fact that this Washington wide receiver room is a mess. McLaurin and Brown out. That's Noah Brown. Only 4 active right now: Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Chris Moore. Your practice squad options are Ja'Cory Brooks. You have Jones and Tay Martin as well. Those are your practice squad options. So I was immediately thinking, well, maybe you don't necessarily have to go make like a huge trade or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying necessarily go trade for Tyreek Hill or something like that, but you got to do something. You know what I'm saying? You may have to at least sign somebody off the street. So I'm going to be on the lookout for, who we may end up wanting to sign, who we could potentially bring in. Matter of fact, we could dive into that in this video really soon, actually. But shouts out to Mark Tyler, brings up a good point that if I'm Adam Peters, I definitely at least place a call to the Dolphins to at least inquire about Jalen Waddle. I'm not saying pull the trigger, but at least have the conversation. Because even just long term, even if Terry McLaurin's out, not even out like long, like until like month of November or anything like that, which we were afraid could happen with some of the updates that we got like a couple of days ago, it was looking pretty ugly. I think that was like back on Wednesday where there was a possibility that, hey, maybe Terry McLaurin's out 3 months. And so that had me really looking at long term. But even outside of that, who's suiting up against the Falcons? And if Terry can't play against the Chargers, who's suiting up against the Chargers? And you need to be as fully loaded as possible going into that Chargers game, because they're playing like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. The Falcons are one thing, especially with the injuries that they have as well. We are 2 really banged up teams. Again, we're going to dive into that later in this video. So you could probably get away with Chris Moore being your 4th wide receiver, and I don't even know who the 5th is right now. Maybe it's Tay Martin, maybe it's Ja'Cory Brooks, we'll see. You can maybe get away with that against the Falcons, but at the same time, the Falcons are an NFL team. They're sorry, they're horrible, worst team of all time, you know what I'm saying? And that's, that's just my personal opinion. That's just me, throwing further hate on them, but, they're still an NFL team, bro, and you need to assemble some sort of a wide receiver group to go into this game with. So I'm pretty sure some moves going to be made. We're not going into that game with just the 4 that we have active on the 53-man roster right now. Curious who they elevate from the practice squad or bring in from the outside. I'm looking towards bringing in somebody from the outside. And I like Ja'Cory Brooks a lot. I like his talent, but maybe they bring in somebody that's a little bit more ready today. We'll see though. You have to bring somebody in though. 4 active receivers going into this Falcons game is insane. But then the good news, this Saturday morning, Jeremy Fowler, let everybody know that Terry McLaurin with his quad injury will not be placed on the injured reserve. Now, of course, who knows? Maybe they just wait until later to place him on the injured reserve. And then also, even with him not being on the injured reserve, I still don't think he's likely to play against the Chargers. But the fact that Terry is not going on the injured reserve, according to Jeremy Fowler, we haven't heard this from Dan Quinn and Adam Peters themselves, but Jeremy Fowler is saying that Terry McLaurin will not be placed on injured reserve. And if that is true, again, I always try to, approach these things like take it with a grain of salt. Don't assume that this is 100% true. This is coming from a reporter outside of the Commanders organization. So I want to, preface this with the fact that we're going to walk through this as if this is true, but I want to please let you know this may not necessarily be true. But if Terry McLaurin is in fact not being placed on IR, that means that they expect him to come back within 4 weeks. Just to let you know that. Because if you place somebody on the injured reserve, that means they have to miss a minimum of 4 games. So that means that they think that he could be back because the Falcons is technically week 1 from now with his injury. Then there's the Chargers week 2. Then there's the Bears week 3. And then there's the Cowboys week 4 after that. So you have the Falcons September 28th tomorrow, Chargers the 5th, then the Bears on the 13th, and the Cowboys on the 19th. They feel like if they basically don't put him on IR, he has a chance to come back one of those games, like the Cowboys game at the latest, or the very, very, very super latest, the Kansas City Chiefs on October 27th. But again, that's if they were to place him on IR. You would be starting to pencil, circle around the Kansas City Chiefs like, hey, maybe Terry can return this time. If they don't put him on IR, hey, man, maybe the Bears game. Who knows? Very, very, very slim chance, but maybe he returns with Jayden Daniels for that Chargers game. And speaking of Jayden Daniels, and before I give y'all the Jayden Daniels updates, of course, man, with Sleeper, shouts out to Sleeper, man. You can 1,000 times your cash if you get your picks right through Sleeper, bro. So much fun. I've been having so much fun on my own. And then also shouts out to Washington football, because it's never been more exciting than it is right now. Even with the injuries that we have, I still expect us to go into this Falcons game and win this game in Atlanta again. I'll be at that game. And you can pick on stats for our top players like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Since Jayden nor Terry are playing, I'm looking at Marcus Mariota. I'm looking at even potentially Jalen Lane having some sort of a game on offense to where maybe, might have to check out what his lines are looking like on Sleeper as well. Again, if you're right on your picks, you can win big money on it. You can use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE. And you can get up to $100 match on your first deposit. And you can even just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video on live stream I'm doing all year. And again, it's like I keep telling y'all, man, it's not just the Commanders and the NFL. NBA is about to return soon. I believe the preseason starts October 2nd. You got the MLB, the NHL, college football. My Georgia Dogs about to whoop up on the Alabama Crimson Tide tonight. You have college basketball, and you even have the WNBA, all through Sleeper. Again, shouts out to Sleeper. Now let's dive into what we can get into with some of these picks. Now, just some quick, fun that if you just have a quick dollar to spare, I love to go to my NFL popular duos. I love to go to the riskiest one to assess, hey man, maybe this is possible. So if Travion Henderson is able to go over 42.5 yards, which he has not done at all this season. I'm assuming that line is so high because maybe I know Ramondre Stevenson or something has somebody on the Patriots has something going on, and they feel like this could finally be his breakout game. Plus, it's against the Carolina defense. So if there were ever a game that Travion Henderson, with all of that talent, can finally break 42.5 yards, is probably them. And then Geno Smith, all he has to do is rush for 7.5 yards, and he's done that twice this season. The only time that he didn't do it was against us because we had him bottled up. We did a better job against him than even the Patriots and even the Chargers, looking like one of the best teams in the NFL, did against them. So hey man, it happens to anybody. This Commanders defense is that serious, and I think we're going to show out against the Falcons as well. But my point is, hey man, this is fairly risky, but hey, I think this may actually end up hitting. You can put 5 on it to get 15. You can put 10 to get 31. You can put 20 to get 63. And if you're really feeling this, you can put 100 to get 316 back. So shouts out to Sleeper, man. Again, that's promo code SCORE. That's SCORE. Now let's get to Jayden Daniels. And with Jayden Daniels, it's pretty much all bad news. Now, of course, his injury isn't as severe as Terry McLaurin's, as from what we know right now. So, I mean, I guess technically his news at the end of the day is sort of positive because I'm pretty confident that he will play against the Chargers. He was fairly close to playing against the Raiders. It seemed like he was getting even closer to playing against the Falcons, but he will not play against the Falcons, man. And I know he's fuming, bro. Because remember, after the Raiders game, he was asked about that. And somebody asked him, like, how did you feel about, what did you say to Dan Quinn after you were told that you weren't going to start against the Raiders? And he basically alluded to the fact that, man, he's going to have to tell you that because it wasn't nice. It was not pretty. And so I know after he has to miss a second game in a row, I know Jayden was absolutely livid, man. And we could already tell that we were about to get some bad news when as soon as practice started yesterday, Tom Pelissero tweeted at 11:17 a.m. that Jayden Daniels with a knee injury and Terry McLaurin with a quad injury were not on the field for the start of practice. So that was the big here we go. And he even pointed out the fact that McLaurin hadn't practiced all week and will likely miss Sunday's game versus Atlanta, which it's already been definitive he will miss. And Daniels was limited the past 2 days, and his status is up to the doctors. And then about an hour and a half later, at 12:48 p.m., Tom Pelissero came back and said Dan Quinn has officially ruled out Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin for Sunday. The doctors did not clear Jayden Daniels, while McLaurin is week to week. That's positive McLaurin news right there. They're considering him week to week. And again, like we talked about earlier, the fact that they're not placing him on the injured reserve shows that they feel like he can return within 4 weeks. So that's pretty good right there. Like I said, at the latest, that Cowboys game. But at least it was the doctors that had to tell him. I don't know if Dan Quinn situated it like that on purpose so that he wouldn't have to face Jayden Daniels' wrath. I mean, hey, Dan Quinn at least hopefully didn't have to catch it this time. Maybe they even sent the doctors to personally tell Jayden Daniels themselves so they could be the ones to catch it, bro. Because I know Jayden Daniels was livid, man. I feel so sorry for him. I feel like we can beat the Falcons even without Jayden Daniels, but of course you want your starting top 5 quarterback, elite quarterback as soon as possible, especially since I really want him to win MVP this year. Remember, Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes each won MVP technically their second year of starting. It wasn't second year Pat Mahomes was technically his third year because his first year he sat out every game until the very last one where the Alex Smith led Chiefs already had their playoff spot sealed to where they just allowed the little rookie backup Pat Mahomes, a little humble rookie go out there and play a game last game of the season like how we did with Sam Howell before, and I think that was the 2022 season. Before we went into the 2023 season, he was our full-blown starter there. But yeah, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, both won MVPs going into their second year of starting. I was hoping that Jayden Daniels could still do that. And granted, if he comes back and absolutely lights it up the way that I think he should be able to, then maybe he still has a chance to win MVP. But missing 2 games, especially early on, not looking good for his case. But we'll see. We will see. Missing 2 games is really hard to win MVP under those conditions. But I'm still rooting for him to potentially do it. But he probably isn't even the least bit concerned about that. He's just a highly competitive guy. He just wants to play. You saw how he was in the preseason, man. Out there putting his body on the line for a preseason touchdown that didn't affect anything either way at all. It's preseason, bro. And then when he was asked about putting his body on the line for a touchdown in a preseason game, he said, don't put me out there if you don't expect me to give it my absolute all every single time, no matter it's preseason, regular season, postseason, whatever. So this is a very competitive guy. He hates missing games. So I know he's sick to his stomach. So at the very least, like, even as fans, we're upset. We want Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin out there. But remember, bro, have some sympathy for them because Jayden wants to be out there even more than we want him out there. I can promise you that. Jayden wants to be out there. Jayden's more upset about Jayden not being able to play against the Falcons than any of us fans are. Just really wanted to make sure I re-emphasize that. And then now also, let's dive into all of the injuries between the Commanders and the Falcons. Well, it's official. As of 12:30 yesterday, the Commanders officially ruled out Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, John Bates again for another week, second week in a row, and Noah Brown for the second week in a row as well, going into this week 4 game against Atlanta. But at least we got positive news as far as Bill practiced in that practice yesterday on Friday, September 26th, and he should be available in this upcoming game against the Falcons tomorrow. But then the Falcons got hit with the craziest news that I think is over with for them, bro. Like, defensively, they were already struggling, but to not have cornerback AJ Terrell, Westlake alum, man, shouts out to my dog AJ, man. Hey, man, Westlake right there. But He's out for this game against the Washington Commanders tomorrow due to his hamstring injury, bro. So it's real ugly for them. I mean, looking at the entire practice report for both teams. On the Commanders end, again, John Bates out. He's dealing with a calf and a groin injury that he suffered against the Packers. Hopefully we get him back as soon as possible. But Cliff Kingsbury has shown that he can change the offense and adapt it around the fact that we have Ben Sinnott available instead of John Bates available. Ben Sinnott, I mean, even when John Bates is there, Ben Sinnott plays a little bit, but now he's playing more. Ben Sinnott played more snaps against the Raiders than even Zach Ertz did. And since Ben Sinnott isn't like a great inline blocking tight end, like an extension of the offensive line, literally like a third tackle like John Bates is, they had to basically, Cliff Kingsbury adapted the offense around making sure that he was like a puller. He was a mover. So they John Bates can just sit there off the snap and immediately has power like a tackle and able to deal with edge rushers. Ben Sinnott. So what they did was pre-snap, they let him move a little bit, and that way he was able to convert his speed into power and deliver some blocks. And he had some really key blocks, especially like that one where he was like the lead blocker for a Marcus Mariota zone run keeper to the left side early in the game that went for like a first down. So even though we don't have John Bates, Cliff Kingsbury's doing a good job of adapting the offense around him, but still, you miss John Bates, you want John Bates back as soon as possible. He's the best blocking tight end in the NFL. That matters. We designed our offense around having him available. Of course, the other 31 teams in the NFL do not have a John Bates, and they still can score points, but I like the fact that we have him as an option, and I want him back as soon as possible. Then Noah Brown, I mean, that's a different story there. Like, him being available, if anything, is more news than him being out at this point, even going back to last year. Thank you for the Hail Mary, but, man, Noah Brown, I'm not losing sleep over him not playing, man. I'm not depending on him to be available in any particular game at any point this season, bro. We need to move as if Noah Brown is not on the team. If he's there, cool. That's extra. That's a bonus. But that's not an expectation at all, bro. Of course, Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. Now, granted, Jayden Daniels is interesting. Situation was interesting. And I'm pretty sure even before he was told he was out, he already knew he was cooked because apparently he had rest on Friday. They just figured if you're not playing Sunday, you might as well not even practice. As you can see, he was limited Wednesday and Thursday. He was even limited. He was participating in practices as early as before the Raiders game on Friday. You know what I'm saying? He's been practicing since before the Raiders game. He was limited Friday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, and then this Friday they decided you might as well just go ahead and rest. So as soon as they told him to, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't that much rest in that rest. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he didn't practice, but I don't think Jayden Daniels was able to rest much. I'm pretty sure he was fuming. Pretty sure he was highly upset when they walked to him, hand on shoulder, was like, yeah, man, just rest this one out. Just sit this one out. You're not practicing today. And then, of course, immediately that clicks in his head. Oh, so that means I'm not playing. Oh, yeah, nah, I know he was. I wouldn't be surprised if he threw a chair somewhere. Terry McLaurin, of course, with the quad injury, has not participated in practice since the Packers game. Again, it's crazy because the guy was jogging like it was nothing. When Luke McCaffrey scored his touchdown, Terry McLaurin jogged onto the field, no limp at all, looking extra normal to go retrieve Luke McCaffrey's first touchdown ball. And then Percy Butler, questionable, did not participate in practice all week. Now, granted, losing a good special teamer, and you already have safety depth questions with Will Harris, on the IR. Hopefully we get him back as soon as possible. We'll see where that goes. I don't think that season ending, though. Thank goodness. And then you bring in Darnell Savage. Is he ready to actually go out there and utilize the entire defense? Does he know the Joe Witt Jr. defense already within less than a week? I doubt it, but we'll see. But still, losing Percy Butler does hurt the team, even though he's not like a full-blown starter. He's not a Pro Bowler in any way, shape, or form. He's still an important depth piece in the safety room. That just means Tyler Owens, especially if Percy Butler can't play, but even if he can and he's hobbled up, that means you're going to see more Tyler Owens. You're going to see more Jeremy Reeves. Then our boy running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, didn't participate in practice all week until Friday, and then he participated in full. So when they kept saying that they were being overly cautious, he was more sore than anything else, and it wasn't necessarily like a full-blown injury. Seems like they were telling the truth because we saw 2 straight days of him not practicing, but the reporters kept saying, don't worry, he's fine, and I kept giving you all those updates. Now you have definitive proof that he is fine. I mean, he's questionable, but he participated in full on Friday. And then Trey Amos and Colson Yankoff, thank goodness, especially Trey Amos, because he's already a top 10 corner in the NFL. He's easily the best corner on this team, but he's, according to a lot of stats and charts that I've seen, literally a top 10, arguably top 7 corner in the NFL already 3 games into his rookie season, and the fact that he can go is very important. The Falcons losing AJ Terrell is pretty much as bad as if we would have lost Trey Amos, because technically Trey Amos is having a better season this year than even AJ Terrell is having, but I'm not going to sit here and place him over AJ Terrell, because AJ Terrell was one of the best corners in the NFL the past couple of years. He's just been a little banged up this year. And speaking of banged up, moving on to the Falcons side. Now, they got a lot going on. Now, granted, they have their rest guys on there, and we took ours off because, of course, like our typical Wednesday guys that don't practice, like Bobby Wagner, Laramie Tunsil, and Zach Ertz, the older guys and things like that, even though Laramie Tunsil isn't that old. But either way, those guys did not participate in practice on Wednesday, and the Falcons have their same guys that they do that with Leonard Floyd, Darnell Mooney, and David Onimata, and Caden Ellis, and guys like that, Jake Matthews. Like, they have a few guys they do that with as well, but I don't know. For some reason, they still included them on their practice squad, their practice injury report, and we didn't. But either way, man, out-wise, I mean, Nate Carter, that's a small loss for them. Kadero Hodge, that's a small loss as well. Again, you always prefer to have as many healthy players as possible, but those ones, like, don't impact the game that much. Cornerback AJ Terrell with a hamstring injury being out is crazy news for the Falcons, bro. If I'm them, it doesn't matter if Jayden's playing, Marcus Mariota, if Terry's available or not, bro. Even this could be the Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey coming out party with no AJ Terrell out there, bro. This Falcons secondary without AJ Terrell, and even just overall defense, maybe even worse than what the Raiders threw at us. Again, with AJ Terrell not included. AJ Terrell in the field, I definitely lean towards the Falcons defense being the better defense. Without AJ Terrell, I don't know. That Raiders defense is probably equally as bad. Because especially since the fact that now, granted, the Falcons have a myriad of guys who can all contribute pressures like they did in that Vikings game, unlike what they did in that Panthers game, whatever reason. But they don't have a Max Crosby. They don't have like we played against the Packers, on Micah Parsons. The week before that, we had to go against Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. They don't have a single guy like any of those guys as I listed. Jalen Walker, my Georgia dog, he's working on it. James Pierce, who I was a huge fan of, come out of the draft out of Tennessee. He's working on it as well. They're improving, they're developing, but they're not there yet. And even then, like, James Pierce had to, miss some practice time this week with a groin injury. Kyle Pitts, he's actually surprisingly, like, looking like the most promising he's looked so far in his career in a 3-week span. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been more so Michael Penix being bad. And also, it doesn't necessarily show up on this injury report, but their starting right tackle right now, who's technically the third string right tackle, because their starting right tackle got hurt, their second string got hurt. Now they're relying on that third string one. That's the biggest food we've gone against all season for our defensive line. So the Falcons, and I'm bringing this up now, even though it's not an injury report, is something that's really going to matter in that game, because that's one of the main reasons Michael Penix has been having a hard time. Now, granted, he just straight up played horribly against the Panthers, even exclusive away from the offensive line. Just independently himself had a bad game. But the offensive line hasn't been doing them a lot of favors, because that third string right tackle that's having to start for them right now is arguably the worst singular individual offensive lineman that we're going to go against maybe all season, bro. So Dorrance Armstrong has a sack in each game so far this year. I think this is the game he could probably get 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and rise up there to being one of the sack leaders in the NFL. Right now, he's the pressure leader in the NFL. I'm definitely expecting that to continue, especially against this offensive line that already wasn't that good. And then now you have the biggest turnstile, arguably, in the NFL at right tackle right now, man. Hey, so Falcons, I know maybe some of y'all are excited that Jayden nor Terry are playing, but y'all aren't that much healthier, and your injuries may end up costing y'all even more than ours do as well, because Marcus Mariota, solid. Now, granted, we don't have a Terry McLaurin replacement yet. You would hope Jalen Lane can be that. He hasn't shown you that yet, so I'm not dependent on that. And of course, Marcus Mariota is not Jayden Daniels, but we're still fine. Y'all don't have a pseudo AJ Terrell. You know what I'm saying? At least Marcus Mariota is somewhat of like a placebo Jayden Daniels or something, whatever you want to call him. I feel like he's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. That's why I trust him to go out there and still beat the Falcons. The Falcons don't have an AJ Terrell clone or replacement ready at hand or anything like that. So I feel like their loss, if anything, may be even bigger on the AJ Terrell side. We'll see though, but I just think we can run it up against. If we score 40 against the Raiders, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to score 40 against the Falcons. Just shut shut down Bijan Robinson, we'll be good to go. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know about everything discussed video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. If you're still watching this video right now, you still see me, you still hear me, man, really appreciate that. Salute to you personally, man. Thank you for that. Shouts out to my Watch to the End gang, WTTG. Shouts out to the late night crew, LNC in the building as well, even though I'm releasing this at 11 a.m. And I've noticed the past couple of days, I've actually been going to sleep at like a normal human being time, and now I'm waking up at a relative normal human being time as well. So right now my schedule's off, you know what I'm saying? I'm used to being up with the late night crew. I don't know what's been going on. That's why I've been coming out with these videos late. I come out with the video the next morning rather than that night. I don't know what's going on, but hey, man, maybe I grew up or something. I don't know. Either way though, I'm gonna be back to the late night crew though. This ain't gonna last long, especially with my Georgia Bulldogs beating Alabama tonight. I won't be able to sleep after that one, so I'll be right back to where I was. But man, make sure y'all stay tuned. Make sure you let me know in the comment section how you feel about the Terry news, even though some of it is positive, but overall, of course, him missing the Falcons game is negative, and even the Chargers game may be in jeopardy. Let me know how you feel about the Jayden Daniels news, and do you think at this point, even though he will miss this Falcons game, do you think he's very likely to play against the Chargers, or are you somewhat 50-50, or do you think it's unlikely? You know what I'm saying? Let me know how y'all feel about that, and let me know how you feel about all of the injuries, especially with the fact that, do you agree with me that the Falcons losing AJ Terrell is a bigger loss than the Commanders losing Terry McLaurin? I mean, especially just with the fact that last year when they faced against each other, AJ Terrell had Terry McLaurin in a coffin, like just strapped up, straight jacket, couldn't go nowhere, wasn't getting nothing done, bro. So let me know how you feel about that. Do you feel like the AJ Terrell loss is a bigger loss than the Commanders losing Terry McLaurin, or do you feel like they just cancel out? Let me know how you feel about all of that. Really appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna catch y'all later with another video. Leave a like on the way out, and I'm gonna try, if I have time, to do a preview video tonight to give you all of the important matchups and stats for this upcoming game, even outside of the injury report. Stay tuned. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.